The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. Welcome to the show. We're very excited to be here during Valentine's Day week. We can't just have one day of holidays anymore. We have to stretch it out, right? So we're celebrating Valentine's Day all this week and all the love that there is. What a great thing to focus on, right? Because we could take time and focus on all the bad stuff, right? But that will always be there. So let's celebrate the love this week. And we're thrilled to be able to be interactive with you. This entire show, we're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours. The entire show is meant to be interactive. We hope that you will participate with us. You've already been writing in on the live feature this morning. I love it. We're going to have an opportunity to share that in a little while. Emily's going to cycle through some of the different ways that you can get a hold of us here on the show. I'll remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, you'll see a desktop. There's a computer screen there. If you click on the little triangle that is on the computer, you can be watching the live show or the most recently recorded live show. To the side of that is a long white box. If you put your cursor there and type, you hit enter and it shows up here on my screen. There's about a lag of about a minute, but it's totally free. You don't have to log in. In fact, we don't know who you are. You have complete anonymity. You have the ability to ask questions of our guests and our experts or of myself, and we can have a conversation almost in real time. How much do we love that? And as I said, no cost to that, no lengthy login. It's that immediate gratification that we're always talking about, right? But the one thing I want you to remember is that that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when the show isn't live. So if you tune in and whatever time that you're watching something, you say, hey, I want to ask a question, you absolutely can type it into the live feature, but make sure that you reference what it is that you're talking about so that I know what part you came into the show on. If you say, she's talking about this, helpful if you tell me the name of the person, not only just she, but what they're talking about. And if you want me to get back to you specifically, other than answering it on the live show, you'll want to include some personal information. I have a way of editing that out without showing it to the audience at home so we can preserve your anonymity. All right. I always like to remind you at the start of the show that we do have a cavalcade of experts and wonderful guests that will come and be on the show. I am not one of the experts. Just reminding you that I am not an expert in autism. I'm an autism mom and a very proud autism mom. Let me say that. Somebody just wrote in about handwriting, and hopefully we'll have a second to talk about that and the handwriting that my son is doing right now, because we've been struggling with this of late. But we've had a leap, and I'm very excited about that. But my son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. He's now 10.5. And the things that I have learned on this journey have been so exciting to me. And I am thrilled every morning to get up and learn more from you guys and from the experts that we have here. But I am still a student learning. I'm here to run the switchboard. That's why I'm here. So I'm not an expert. I always like to remind everybody of that. I know sometimes I talk with authority, but that doesn't mean that I know what I'm talking about. Ever. I'm just keeping it real. In any case, we like to start the morning with something that we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. And we do this because, when our kids are diagnosed with autism, or when we're diagnosed with autism, we're not experts in autism. And yet we go and we seek out information, and sometimes we seek out experts, and they use these terms that are just, frustrating. That's the word I'm looking for. And I used to say the first 2 years that we were on this journey, I said, why can't they just talk like everybody else does. And now I've turned to the dark side. I've come to love these terms because they're so specific. But if you don't understand them, it takes time and money away from what you're trying to do. So we are trying to, one little bit at a time, a different word, different phrase, different acronym every day, and we repeat them on a regular basis so that we become friends with these terms, that we really understand what they mean, and not just what they mean to the experts, but what they mean in our lives. So our term this week, and it all goes hand in hand with the theme of the week, right? See if you can figure it out. Our term today is preference assessment. One of those lovely terms that it's like, why can't we use something a little bit more user-friendly? But here's what we want to know about this. The actual definition for a preference assessment is a procedure to determine the stimuli that a person prefers, the relative preference of those stimuli, and their presumed values as potential reinforcers. Oh, it's just a heartwarming definition, isn't it? Yeah, the first time I saw this, I went, great. What on earth does that mean? So let's go to our working definition. A preference assessment is checking to see what might be most rewarding or reinforcing to someone. Okay, so we talk all the time about the fact that we really can teach anything. We can. And we can teach anything pretty much to anyone if we keep in mind some basic rules. And the first rule is that in order to teach something and have somebody get over, if they haven't already picked it up, it means it's a little bit hard for them, right? And we've all experienced that to some extent. But if we really need for a person to learn a skill and we want to overcome that difficulty, whatever the difficulty is, we have to make it rewarding. Because if we don't make it rewarding, they're not going to be able to do it. And even if we can get them to do it once, they won't do it long term. I don't know about you guys, but I'm addicted to the Olympics right now. I'm watching the Olympics and looking at these amazing young people and what they're willing to put themselves through and how they train to be able to get there for one moment where you can blow it or do beautifully and win a gold medal. And thinking about what must have the trainers and the coaches and the parents, what did they do and what was built into this particular individual that they were willing to fight through the times when they injured themselves. They were willing to fight through getting up on a February morning when it's dark outside and everybody else is sleeping to go to the ice skating rink and get on the ice and be cold. Really? There had to be something that was reinforcing about it. There was something that was rewarding. And here's the rub. We can't assume that we know what it is because different things are reinforcing to different people. Reinforcing just means it's rewarding on a personal level. It makes you want to do it more, right? When I was a 16-year-old, I wasn't at the ice skating rink. I was eating butter pecan ice cream. Do you know why? Because it was rewarding to me. It tasted good. It felt good in my mouth. The texture of it was wonderful. So that's what was rewarding to me. Somebody else going and exercising and going through the motions of something and feeling the stiffness of their muscles leaving, that's reinforcing to them. Now, can we get it so that the person who enjoys exercising really likes ice cream? Yeah, we could if we pair it with something else. And when I was 16 years old, could we have found a way to make something more reinforcing for me than butter pecan ice cream? Yes, we really could have. But we would have had to delve in and try to figure out what else was reinforcing to me. We can all do this on a regular basis. We can change what we're doing, but we have to find something that's reinforcing. And when we're working with an individual who's on the autism spectrum, it's no different, right? We have to find something that's reinforcing to them so that they're willing to get through the difficult parts. They're willing to keep trying. And we don't just assume, we do a preference assessment. And basically, this preference assessment, depending on the person's skill level, at my age, somebody can say to me, what do you think you'd like to work for? What would make it worthwhile for you, Shannon, to exercise? And then I'd have to think about it for a second. And by the way, the first thing that I say may not be the thing that actually gets me to do it, right? But we never give up trying to figure out what the preference is. We do that assessment. We're testing to see what the preference is to work for. So think about with a small child who isn't verbal, can we still do a preference assessment? Absolutely. In fact, we have to do preference assessments and we have to do them more frequently. So if the child, think about a baby that's nonverbal but can sit up, and you sit up the baby and you put 3 toys in front of the baby, and the baby will gravitate towards one of them because that's the one they're choosing choosing, but that's the one they're choosing in that moment. So if we say, oh, well, they picked the Buzz Lightyear doll, so Buzz Lightyear is the thing they like, and we can put the rest of the toys away forever, and they're never going to want to play with them, right? That wouldn't work. So we want to keep asking them. And you can ask verbally, you can ask just contextually by putting things in front of them and seeing which one they pick. You can put pictures of things out and have them point, for a child who's a little bit older. And you can put out a picture of going to the park. You can put out a picture of playing a video game. You can put out a picture of reading a book and ask the child to point to which one do they want to do. Technology is a huge thing with our kids. You'll see sometimes when we show the A word or we show other clips of a therapist working with a child that they'll put out a toy and an iPhone and whatever and say, we're gonna do some work. Which one do you want to play with when we're done? And the child picks the iPhone. They go, great. And then they'll rearrange them and say, which one do you want? Just checking to see. And they pick the iPhone again. Okay, so you're gonna get iPhone after we do a little bit of work here. So we're gonna do the work, you get the iPhone. And then the child does the work and they get 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 minutes, depending on the difficulty of the task and the attention span of the child, to play on the iPhone, and then we go back and do something else. But we have to do a preference assessment. Imagine, I'm sure you don't have to imagine, at some point in life, somebody has decided what the reward is for you. That you've done something really difficult and you have this expectation that you're going to get some big reward, and then they give you something else that you go, oh, okay. Right? You were looking forward, whether it was the raise or the trip or the gift or whatever, and then somebody gives you something that they would find rewarding, right? But it's not what you would have liked, and it's a bummer. And then it kind of takes the joy out of what you did, and unless there's other things that are reinforcing, you don't want to go back and do that much work again, right? Same thing with our kids. So we do preference assessments. It's the reason why they're encouraging business owners to ask your employees, what would you like? Would you like a raise, or would you like flexible job schedule? Everybody for the longest time thought everybody wanted a raise, but some people would rather have flexible time where they can go and do a doctor's appointment or stay home with their kid when they're sick. We like it when people ask us what we want to work for, so do our kids. So we do a preference assessment. Very easy to do. I can guarantee you, though, as much as you think you might be doing it, you will get more effective results if you do it more often. It's tiring how much we really should be doing it, but I don't think you can do it too much. Preference assessment, it's a good thing. It creates progress. Okay, we always have a question of the day for you. I love our question today because this has been one of those age-old questions I ask people all the time. How do you know when you're in love? It's very personal, right? But how do you describe that? How do you know? I have a friend whose mom told her when she was a teenager, she said, how do I know when I'm in love? And the mom said, you know you're in love if you want to be with the person no matter what they're doing. So if they're shoveling horse manure for the day and you're willing to go shovel horse manure, then you're probably in love. I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that. But I'd love to know from you guys, how do you know when you're in love? How do you language that? How do you describe that to other people? How will you describe that to your child? What does it feel like? What does it look like when you're in love? I love Ileana Van Zandt, and I remember her years ago saying on Oprah, she said, love feels like chocolate cake on a china plate. And I love that description because that sounds decadent and really special and remarkable and something that is just unique to me. Who takes the time anymore to put a piece of chocolate cake on a china plate, but it's special, right? It's not run of the mill. I love that description, that's what it should feel like. Because I think sometimes people fall in love and they think that they're supposed to be miserable, and who wants to be miserable in love? Let's be happy in love, right? So we're going to check in a little bit later, hopefully, and take a look at how you guys describe how you know when you are in love. We always have a topic of the week, and since it is Valentine's week, all week long, we are going to be talking about the love. And some of the different guests that we're going to have on the show today, I got a goofy grin on my face because I'm so excited about this. We're going to start out with Alex Plank from wrongplanet.net. And we're going to be talking about love with Alex. Then a little bit later in this hour, we're going to have a remarkable young man. David Kot is going to be with us. He is the head of an amazing organization called Autism at Face Value. And they are the first to make comic books with an autism superhero. Yes, you heard it right. Can't wait to be talking with David about what started all this. And you might think, oh, this is just a really clever idea, but there's actually some science behind it that they're implementing in the way they're doing the comic book that's very, very clever. You're going to want to know more about that. And then in the second hour, we're so thrilled. You know, our regular on Tuesday is Matt Asner. We've talked a little bit before on the show about the fact that Matt is, of course, an autism dad, and he has found love at this point in his life. And lo and behold, it is Navah Paskowitz, who also is an autism parent. And so we have been trying to get them together on the show because it really is a great deal of fun to watch them together. Because if you have any doubt what love looks like, you'll see it a little bit later on the show. They are clearly in love, and it's a very happy occasion for all involved. So all of that and more, and your questions, we're going to be talking about love, what it looks like when you're parents of kids on the autism spectrum, and what it looks like when you yourself are on the autism spectrum. So stick with us. We're going to be right back after these messages.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and then they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle, and without that, they wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
We're ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate,
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get 2 kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear Act Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. You know, we underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so thrilled because we have Alex Plank from wrongplanet.net with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's
I'm
always
really
a thrill to have you here.
Excited to talk with you today.
And because you know we're talking about love today.
Is that true?
That's what we're talking about today.
Cool.
All day, all week, we're talking about love in all different kinds of love.
Isn't that what we talk about every week?
Well, to some degree, you know, because we talk about passion and things that people want to do. I mean, when you come down to it, you could look at all things and say love, right?
Well, yeah, I guess you could do that.
And hopefully we talk about love as much as we possibly can. And as I said, it's not just about love like romantic love, but we're talking about love like, you know, what kinds of things do you love? What do you choose when you have your choice? What, you know, because we all are individuals and we have things that we gravitate towards. So if I were just off the top of the show here to say to you, what do you love? Not who do you love, what do you love?
What? So just a thing?
Yeah, what kinds of things or doing things, what?
I love being outdoors and doing stuff in the wilderness.
Really?
Yeah, I like going mountain biking. That's one thing I really do love. I love, I love doing what I do and going around the country and speaking at conferences and things like that. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it also is really rewarding.
Yes.
Which is why I like it.
What do you think is the really rewarding thing? Do you think the travel aspect or the meeting people?
Well, the ability to affect and help parents of individuals on the spectrum and individuals on the spectrum and professionals and change people's lives, you know, in a larger scale.
Yeah. And you definitely do that. You do that on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with the website. But it's nice to have that, to, like, see the people
connect.
You're doing, like, all in one room.
Right. So you like that social aspect of being there face-to-face with people and seeing theirs.
Yeah, I like the social aspect for sure. And the nice part about being on stage is it's more of a non-social aspect. I mean, it's just I talk and then people respond in the audience, but I mean, it's not a dialogue, but it's not like you're having a conversation.
So you like the part when you're on stage, not necessarily when you get to talk to people afterwards.
No, I love the part afterwards. But I love the whole process because you can tell, you can see people, and you can see when you say certain things that they really connect with that. And that, to me, is something that I feel like I'm lucky to be able to do. And I feel lucky to be able to give back because I feel like giving back is like one of the most gratifying things that you can do.
I agree. I know it's not necessarily the most reinforcing thing for everybody, but I find that really reinforcing too. Whenever I can, help somebody connect with something, that makes my day. So let's talk a little bit in terms of when you were a kid. What kinds of things did you love when you were a kid? Are they different than what they are now?
It's a lot of the same things. I really loved going outdoors and mountain biking, and I really loved talking to people and talking about things that really interested me. And when I was a kid, I was really interested in computers and would talk for hours about like technical things that no one really wanted to hear about, but I still enjoyed talking about them. So I would just keep telling my parents, these things over and over again. They had no idea what I was talking about as well.
And so did they just let you talk about it? Did they try to learn more about it?
Yeah, of course. They're my parents, so they expressed an interest, and it is an interesting topic. So I don't think I'm giving an entirely accurate portrayal when I say that, they weren't interested at all, but...
Well, there are video games that Jem wants to talk about endlessly.
See, I never talked about video games. I could never really do...
Yeah?
I played video games, and I got into one game. I don't know, SimCity was fun. Really love creating things. I like to have an end result, and there's no result at the end of a video game other than a score.
Right.
It doesn't help your life.
So that wasn't
way.
reinforcing enough for you to keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that you really... There's a social aspect, but you can find that in other endeavors, and it's much more social, I think. And that's just my personal feeling. That's why I've really never gotten into video games as much as a lot of people on the spectrum.
It's probably good, because it's a little bit on the addictive side.
Well, I think everything, if you do too much of it, will be addictive.
Yeah. So... talk to us a little bit about what our question of the day was.
Love.
How do you know when you are in love? So what would you say? How do you know when you're in love, Alex?
Well, you just know, and I that's one of those questions I was just like...
You don't like the question?
I don't like the question because it gets asked all the time.
Yeah.
And people always give the same answer, you just know. And I just think that's just so... They do. They give the same answer, or some variation of that. Based on how you feel about the person. I think that you shouldn't really be asking that question.
Okay.
What
question should I be asking?
I mean, and you shouldn't be asking that question like in a relationship. You shouldn't be like, "Am I in love with this person?" Because
if you're asking, you're not.
If you're asked, no, that's not necessarily true. If you're asking. It doesn't really accomplish anything.
Okay.
And in fact, maybe you aren't in love if you have to ask. I don't know, but.
Okay, so $64,000 question. Do you feel like you've been in love, romantic love?
Yeah, for sure. I think
more than once.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. And when you're in love, is your behavior different than normal? Like, do you get goofy? Or not that you know of. A lot of times people don't realize how goofy they are.
I don't know. I always...
Are you distracted when you're in love?
Well, yeah, I think that anyone who's in love will, feel very... You get like really preoccupied by that person that you have those feelings for, and they feel the same way about you, and so you think about them a lot more.
If you're lucky, it's mutual. I don't think it always is.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if it's not mutual, you can kind of tell, and then it's hard to love someone.
Well, this is a good question. Do you think, because I know somebody who says, no, people get infatuated with someone, but that you can't be truly in love, unless it's mutual. You can be infatuated, you can be enamored of.
True.
You don't think that's true. So you think you can be in love with somebody and they could be not in love with you?
Of course.
I kind of think that too. But
because infatuation and love, that's not the difference in the definition. I mean, you could be infatuated with someone that's also infatuated back, and it doesn't mean you're in love.
That's true. That's true. What do you think the difference is between infatuation and love?
I think the difference is really in... Infatuation is an initial feeling that doesn't last, but love is something that will last for a long time.
Endures. So it has a longer lifespan. And do you believe... if you've been in love more than once, do you believe that there's a person for everyone, and that's the person you're supposed to be with? Are there multiple people that you?
There have to be multiple. I mean, look at the world that we live in. I mean, it's like, how many million people are there in this world?
I don't know. It's many.
Did I say million or billion? How many billion?
I don't know.
It's like, there's billions of people.
Yeah. So there are.
You're right. Like.
Yes.
Look at the population.
I think we're in billions. I'll look it up on my phone. I think it's billions.
It just seems low. I mean, I guess you really can't. That's not. I think it's billions.
But for you, in terms of romance and love, do you hope to be married someday?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't really.
You're not spending a lot of time thinking about.
No, and honestly, I'm just so busy right now that it's hard to put a lot of focus on that.
But you're young. You don't necessarily need to be focused on it right now. But
I don't think anyone ever needs to be focused on it, and I don't think even if they're not focused on it that it won't happen. I think that if things work out and you meet the right person and that's the thing that you decide to do, then that's great. But I mean, it's not like you're going around being like, I need to get married, and you're just trying to get married. But there are people, I guess, that try to do that. I just think that would drive me crazy. having to do that.
Yeah, no, I've known some people who that was their whole goal, is to get married. Both men and women,
Well,
you know, equal opportunity.
Yeah. No, of course. No, I know people like that.
I have the world
7
population.
point what billion?
Billion. 7.143 billion people on
Yeah, that's right. That's about right. Because, yeah, no, we should all know how many people there are on this world. That's a pretty
It has
important
not been on my agenda for today, but I'm glad I know.
No, I just mean in general.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of significant.
It is 7 billion. I don't know that I would have guessed that, but...
I knew it was around, I thought it might have been a little, yeah, I knew it was around 7 billion, because when I was a kid, it was like, I remember when it was like only 6.
Really?
Well, yeah, this thing, we're growing like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
it was 6 points, I forget.
Well, and part of the reason why we're growing like crazy is that, you know, there is romance, not necessarily love, but romance in the air, and people then tend to have children. Which brings me to my next thing. Is it on your list of to-do things to eventually be a dad?
Yeah, you know, it would be nice to have, you know, someone that I can sort of order around and get to do things for me.
And I know you're kidding. I know that that's a...
Well, well, there's truth in every joke.
So let me ask you this. How is it different being somebody who is on the autism spectrum? How do you think it's different for you? Is there any difference for you in terms of, are there special considerations in terms of falling in love? Are there special considerations in terms of who you choose? And is there special considerations in being a parent?
No, not at all. I don't see how that's relevant.
And I mean, I feel that way too, but I wanted to at least ask you that question because it's, you know, it's same kinds.
Special considerations.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're friends with John Elder Robeson, and he's a dad on the spectrum, and he has a son who's on the spectrum, and he's written books about what that's like. Do you have any fear of being a parent, and does you know, do you have any fear of what that will be like for you?
Well, I mean, if I'm about to have a kid, I bet you I probably will have fear, because every time you talk to people that are about to have a kid that are going to be dads, they are very scared.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now, that's not something that seems scary to me.
Yeah. And I would imagine that just like everything else in life, that you will...
I mean, well, you know, you always fear that maybe it'll turn into a rotten kid. You know, end up in jail.
I don't think that everybody fears that.
Well, I think most parents worry that their kid's gonna, you know, be successful and be a good person.
Yes, you want them to be successful, but I honestly don't think. I think until they get into the terrible twos, you don't worry that they're going to be terrible people. But in any case, we should take a short break, and we'll come back and continue talking with Alex. If you have questions in the meantime, send them in. Stick with us.
Hi. Welcome to Camp Discovery, a free-to-play suite of fun, interactive learning games for kids 2 and up, designed by experts in autism. Camp Discovery will open your early learner to a world of new skills, shapes, numbers, colors, locations, emotions, and more. Let's get started.
Please choose a level.
Objects. First, Camp Discovery's Intelligent Preference Assessment determines your child's preferred reward for choosing correctly. Okay, got it. Let's play. Camp Discovery creates a motivating learning environment for your child by minimizing incorrect responses and maximizing successful ones.
Find the shoes.
Respond correctly and your child is rewarded with their favorite animations.
You did it.
Respond incorrectly and our unique prompting system guides your child to the correct answer by making it the largest choice.
That's not it. Try again. Way to go.
Continue to answer correctly and the size gradually reduces until the child makes the correct choice independently.
You win.
Success! Rewards motivate learning. Complete a round and your child is rewarded with a fun mini-game. Track your child's progress with easy-to-read graphs. Multiple settings options allow you to customize Camp Discovery to your child's unique needs. All this in one single app, the Camp Discovery app, available for free on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon Store.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I just have to do a little shout out. You just saw a new commercial that we're playing for Camp Discovery, and I love the voiceover on that clip. and it is that little girl voice. That is our very own Emily Goodwin. So I think it's remarkable. She's doing a great job, and we've been lending her out to Camp Discovery to do that.
Excellent.
She has a remarkable voice. I said Nickelodeon's going to steal her away to do voiceovers for cartoons, and we'll just have to. She's so multi-talented and can do so many things. So don't tell Nickelodeon about her. But in any case, we are here right now with the fabulous Alex Plank from WrongPlanet.net, and we're talking about love today because it's Valentine's Day weekend, and so.
Oh, that's why we're talking about love. Okay, I was wondering why that was the topic this week, and then I realized,
that's
okay.
the topic for this entire week. Plus, which is February. It's Feel Good February.
What are your thoughts on Valentine's Day?
Well, I think, like everything else in our culture, everything has become this marketing nightmare of a way that we can all spend more money, right? So we get marketed to in a terrible, terrible way. I mean, the origins of Valentine's Day was a bloody slaughter, right? It seems a weird thing to me.
Oh yeah, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. That's true. You never really think about that.
Right. But hey, if it's an opportunity for us to say nice things to other people and to appreciate others, then I think that's a wonderful thing. I don't think we have to go and spend tons of money as all the companies tell us that we need to do.
And I was looking at this, a card from Hallmark. It's really not that much money. So if you're talking about like, oh, well, it's just a way to make us spend money, it's like a card is like one of the cheapest things you can buy.
That's
and
true.
A box of chocolates, right? I mean, think about other holidays where you have to give much more elaborate presents.
But this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show with a preference assessment, because some people need to have something like that to feel loved, right? They need the chocolates or the flowers, but that's the way they feel loved.
Do they need the item, or do they need the person to give them that?
Well, there are individuals who say that there are lots of different ways that people feel loved, and one of the most important things you can do in life is find out the person that you're in a relationship with, find out what makes them feel loved. Is it something you say, something you do, or a way that you touch them? And so I told my husband a long time ago that I feel most loved and cared for when he does something that doesn't involve spending money. So I came home last night, and there was a piece of this beautiful pink-colored film that he got from somewhere, and it was on my pillow, and he wrote on it, "I love your compassion." Like, it's a compliment, and he didn't have to go buy it. He cut it out himself, and like, that makes me feel loved. I think that's incredibly romantic. That means more to me than getting a dozen roses, which are going to die. Right? Now, he could go and buy the roses, and I would still go, honey, that's really sweet. But
Is that the reason? Because the roses are going to die? So if he gave you like a teddy bear?
No, it's just my preference. It's just me, who I am. To me, the fact that he thought about it, you can go and buy roses, and it doesn't take long, and they're everywhere. They're on every street corner this week. But he had to think about it ahead of time, and he had to cut the heart out, and he had to decide what he wanted to say, and then take the time to put it on my pillow.
Yeah.
He thought about me. So that really flips my switch. That's my preference, and he knows that about me.
See, I'd much rather get a car.
A car. Not a card. A car.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
see, I think that should be the gift that people get.
So that's the thing that
for girls to buy guys, like because guys
that
love
would
cars.
do it for you.
And we buy the roses, and the free things where we just write, "I like your compassion."
Right. So if you were in a relationship with somebody, the thing that they could do for you on Valentine's to really show they cared is to get you a car.
Like a nice car, though. Not like some like.
Right. Okay. Now, what if they could not afford a car? What would be the next step down?
I would have to find someone else. No, I don't know.
Alex, the comedian today.
I'm not a comedian. I'm just telling you what would go down.
Right.
But no, in all seriousness, they need to get me a car.
Okay. All right.
Or at least be able to. No, I'm just kidding.
So for all the girls that are out there watching that want a chance with Alex Plank, get a nice car.
I mean, just on Valentine's Day, if you have to give a gift.
So you just rent it for the day. You want them to buy
I just mean that's the only holiday if they give me a car.
Okay, that's the only day. So that's what would make you feel loved.
No, but seriously, I think that really the whole thing about needing to, and I love Valentine's Day. It's one of the coolest holidays.
It's one of your favorites.
But,
why? What about it is so great for you?
I don't know. Just everyone's thinking about like love and etc. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It's if you have to pick something to focus on, why not? It's an okay thing to do.
I mean, if you're single, it's a nice time to meet someone. That's like romantic. We met on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
If you're in a relationship, then you can do something special or whatever. So
yeah, but I was single for a long time. I didn't get married until I was 39, about to be 40 years old, and I was single, not dating many of those Valentine's days before that. It didn't bother me personally because I saw Valentine's Day.
Why would it bother you?
Well, I understand that there are some people who Valentine's Day, if they're not in a relationship, feel particularly bad and they feel particularly alone.
Did they just stay at home all day? You got to go out or like something, or go out and like
that's
celebrate.
good advice, that you got to go out and try to see who you can meet and be a part of the world. But for me, it was always an opportunity to tell all the people in my life, how much I loved them, because there are lots of different gradations and variations of love. You love your dog, and you love your grandmother, and you love different people. So there is an opportunity to celebrate there, and you don't have to feel like just because romantic love isn't on your plate that you don't get to celebrate Valentine's Day. It was always my view of things, and it sounds like you agree with that.
Well, I mean, isn't it potentially always on your plate? You never know who you'll meet. Right?
Absolutely.
Like those movies that are always like all romantic on Valentine's Day and stuff that come out on Valentine's.
Yeah, you never know when you're going to meet the person you're going to meet. Okay, we are out of time. We're going to keep talking about love a little bit later on, but we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with a very unique young man, David Kot. David Kot is with us. He is from Autism at Face Value, and he is behind a new comic book that has come out that features an autism superhero. So Alex and I can't wait to talk to David. Stick with us. We're going to be right back.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The Skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes Skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The Skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the Skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Alex Plank is here with us live in the studio, and we are joined right now via Skype from Pennsylvania. David Kot from Autism at Face Value is with us. Thank you, David, for being with us.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk today.
What is Autism at Face Value?
Autism at Face Value is our nonprofit organization that I founded a few years ago. Our purpose is to help make sure that kids feel safe, wanted, and successful in their homes, schools, and communities. And we have a secondary mission to help really reinforce that with kids on the autism spectrum. We developed a comic book that uses facial feature recognition to help kids understand one another, their emotions, themselves, and their peers. While this comic book is largely geared for kids on the spectrum, we believe that a lot of kids could benefit from learning the understandings of what emotions are, to be able to understand how others feel, to help build empathy.
It's really a remarkable venture. And David, we have to ask you, where can people buy the comic book?
Well, right now, we just started with local. Our local comic shops have been absolutely supportive of us. It's a really nice thing to walk into the comic stores where I had subscriptions to my own particular enjoyable comics, and then to talk with the vendors there to sell the comic books on the shelves as well.
Oh, that's great.
People can also order the comic books online at facevaluecomics.com. We have links for the digital download as well as print copies as well.
Really remarkable. And we've got a piece of video that we want to show right now that's another interview that you've done telling a little bit more about this endeavor. So, and then we're going to come back and ask you some more questions, David.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so here's the video.
I'm Dave Kot, and I created Face Value Comics for and about autism awareness. We're the first comic book to feature a character who has autism. This is the scene of which I'm most proud. It is Michael on his first day of school. And it might appear that Michael is upside down. He kind of is, but it was done intentionally. It's not a printing mistake. The readers have to literally change their perspective to look at a person with autism differently than they may have expected. And that's kind of the point of what we're doing with the comic book. Part of autism awareness is acceptance. Kids on the spectrum typically don't make a lot of eye contact. So taking the comic book and freeze framing a facial feature allows a reader to understand what the facial feature looks like. And that's one level of what we're doing with the comic book. The second level uses speech bubbles to give language to what that feeling is. So you actually begin to understand. A character says, "I'm angry," and then you can match up the language to the facial expression. And then the entire story helps place the situation in context on what a character, what maybe made them angry, and what that looks like. So you can predict what someone may do when they're feeling these emotions. That helps build empathy. People have asked me, do I have autism? They ask if I'm autistic. I am. I have an official diagnosis from a trained professional, and it helps me understand what other people are going through. We're just one voice, but it's one voice that isn't being heard in the comic book market. It's one voice not being heard in a lot of social advocacy, and this sets up a dialogue to be able to talk about what autism is and what it isn't. Reception has been big. We sold out of our first run of 100 comics in just a few days around Christmas time when we released to the public. And all the comic book stores in our area have been absolutely fantastic.
Dave's comic has been doing amazingly well. We've sold out of 2 batches already. We're on our 3rd batch up here. I think the York store's on their 4th batch, which is just awesome. It's really spreading by word of mouth.
They support me in not just making my own comic book, but they support the mission behind it. I get emails from fans across the world. My favorite one was from one in the UK. a mom had her son who was nonverbal. She showed him our Facebook fan page. And he looked at the screen and pointed to it, and then he pointed to himself. So he got it. And that is, I don't have words for that.
Welcome back. Really amazing video there. David Kot is with us via Skype from Pennsylvania, and we're not using the snow word. We've been told that the snow word is not allowed.
That's a four-letter. That's one of the four-letter.
It's one of the bad four-letter words right now, especially in Pennsylvania.
So they're going to be like 9 inches, they say.
But David, this is really a remarkable venture, and I'm wondering, how did you get to this idea of making a comic book to address these issues?
Well, I relied on what I know best. I am a big comic book fan. I always have been since I was a little boy, and I always thought that comic books are a great way to teach. While they have some great fantasy and action and science fiction, there tends to be nuggets of wisdom or education in a lot of issues. I remember as a boy reading the Thor comic books and having to run to the dictionary or encyclopedia to understand some of the villains from Norse mythology, to trying to get a leg up on what the story might tell. I didn't study as well as I had hoped for an advanced biology test one time, and one of the multiple choices was to describe a spider. The one choice was an arachnid. And I remember where Spider-Man fought the arachnoid, and I thought that was close enough. So I attribute Spider-Man to helping me pass an advanced biology class at one point. But I also relied a lot on my academic work, on my PhD studies, where I focus on autism and communication and nonverbal expression. Doctors Paul Ekman and James Russell did a lot of research about how facial expressions are kind of like a lighthouse. And behind me, one of the scenes, we have Myra walking the beach with a lighthouse. And that typifies the fact that people express emotions to intended and unintended audiences, that subconsciously our facial muscles pull and retract in very specific ways, regardless of age, gender, nationality, that when someone looks mad, we can pretty much tell that they're angry. When someone is sad, we can pretty much tell consistently, if you understand what you're looking for in that face, that they're sad. And there's even a difference between the happy store clerk greeting as you go into a large business versus when your partner welcomes you home after a long day work and they're genuinely happy to see you. Those facial expressions happen very quickly. The research that I had done a lot with some of my clients on the spectrum was building empathy by showing these emotions. We froze them on a static page, had them understand what they were, gave language to them, and the outcomes through insurances and things of that nature showed that there was a marked improvement in using this cognitive behavioral approach. So instead of continually drawing pictures, if I were to draw myself, this comic book would be all about stickmen. But yeah. I was reinventing the wheel with each client, so I thought if we were to have a good, consistent frame of reference, I'd carry my messenger bag, we could learn from this without wasting lots of paper and without my poor attempts at drawing even something as simple as a happy face or an angry face. Well, so that seemed to work really well with that idea of a comic book.
I love the idea. I think it's a really clever idea. Did you have anything you wanted to ask, Alex?
Yeah, I was just wondering, you said that in the video you were mentioning that it's getting sold out. Do you have any plans to try to market it to a wider audience all over the world? Or, I mean, I know you have the website, but are you going to like events and promoting it? And what are you doing? And how many episodes have you put out yet so far? Where that's what they're called, issues?
Thanks, Alex. This was our first issue. It starts to tell Michael's story, a little bit of his background when he's going to school, and he's trying to find his place among his peers and teachers in the midst of an intergalactic war. We hope to wrap up Michael's story, some of his background, and his growth as a character, and his growth as what will become a genuine, bona fide superhero reminiscent of the golden age of comics. The golden age of comics is when good guys were good and bad guys were bad. We decided to follow the antiquated comic book code authority from several years ago, where we make things very family friendly. We minimize violence, and our characters are, I guess in the vernacular, dressed.
Love it.
That's great.
So that
cool.
Our characters go around and have these small adventures. We also have storylines planned for about 18 months worth of comics as we expand on Michael and his experiences in the world. We meet other characters. In issue 1, we see the Zephyr, a blue costumed superhero. He's kind of our comic book character in the comic book. We like to do a lot of things like break the fourth wall and talk to readers as though they were sophisticated readers. We encourage the use of creativity and understanding on what we're doing. We have activity pages that would be reminiscent something like the old highlights for kids, where we have discussion points in our comic that we want kids to talk to one another, to their teachers, families, and other professionals about things like bullying and about facial feature recognition. We want to, with autism, focus on the positive. There is a lot of misinformation. There is a lot of questions in a lot of people's minds about what autism is or isn't. And what we hope to try to do is bring a unifying idea that there are certain things for which we all go through as we go through middle school. While it's okay to be different and quirky, that's fine, but at least my personal experiences and a lot of professional ones, people in middle school try to fight to be viewed as normal as possible. And that common struggle is what we try to focus on in the comic book. We do have plans to go internationally. Our Facebook page has kind of exploded. I was happy. I remember telling one day to a friend I was hoping that we could get 30 likes one day. And now we're nearing in on 1,000 since August.
That's excellent.
Thank you. And it's just being spread by word of mouth right now. We're trying to find international distributors to help get into the UK, Australia, and quite frankly, all over the world. I was really flattered by a fan who nominated me for an international award for autism awareness.
Love it.
And they're in Australia. So
love it. So the big burning question that my husband would kill me if I didn't ask, are you going to go to Comic-Con this year?
We are going to go to any and every event that is financially feasible because we want to spread more awareness about autism. While the comic book might be telling an interesting story, its main purpose is to expose more people about the positive ideas of what autism is and the kids' journeys and their own experiences in the sci-fi, steampunk, futuristic world. Michael is no different than maybe some other kids with autism. And that's what we really want to focus on, the commonalities and strengths about what a person can do, not what they can't do.
I love it. Are they? Have you seen schools starting to implement and use this with the worksheets yet, David?
Yes, I've been asked by several schools. The response, quite frankly, has been overwhelming, Shannon. I am happily overwhelmed. These are good problems to have. I'm being asked by professionals to help develop curriculum, and the idea of using facial feature recognition to build empathy in the classroom is amazing to me. It's something that I spent a lot of time academically researching and feel there's a lot of strong corollaries there for success. And now schools are contacting me from New York, New Jersey, even Sweden, that want to be very progressive. I was very happy that the National Autism Society in the UK wanted to know how we could use the facial feature recognition skills to help build empathy among their adult ASD population to help them maintain gainful work and employment.
Really remarkable.
The scope of this is mind-numbing. I'm just a guy. and the comic book was just an idea. I would be happy if I would have sold a few copies to local comic stores. But as the month of February winds down, we'll be nearing in on 1,000 copies sold.
Really
in just a few
remarkable.
months.
You mentioned that you were working on your PhD, David. What is your PhD in?
It's going to be in psychology with a focus on autism and communication with nonverbal skills.
Cool.
Really remarkable and great use of it. I love what you're using. One more question, Alex?
No, I'm
we're
learned
impressed.
a lot. I'm very excited to hear about this and really happy to.
Yeah, absolutely. We've gotten a couple of comments from viewers who are just loving this topic and they're loving watching this. So thrilling. Tell them again where they can go to. What's your Facebook page and what's your website?
Sure. You can find us. Go ahead and like us to find some of the most current information. And we do love our Facebook fans. We give a lot of exclusive content. New pictures of the cover of issue 2 was the first appeared on our Facebook page, as well as lots of character bios. So on Facebook, we are Face Value Comics. The whole idea of just take us at face value. Face Value Comics. And then our website, we're really happy to have moved beyond a simple blog. We had Chris Hessenblow from Float Right Media down in Houston, Texas, really believed in what we were doing. And as we researched the cost of building a website with all the bells and whistles that we would need to promote and monitor traffic, it was rather expensive and cost prohibitive as a nonprofit just starting out. But Chris and his organization built and donated the website to us. You can find us at facevaluecomics.com or autism@facevalue.com.
Wonderful.
That's
David,
great.
we thank you so much for being with us, and we think this is a great project, and we want to hear more about it, so we'll definitely have to have you back on the show sometime.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking with you today.
Have a wonderful day, and stay warm.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Really remarkable
Amazing.
project.
I want to get one.
I do too. I want my child to have one of these comic books, and I love the fact that you can get one that you hold, or you can get an e-copy. So I think we'll probably.
I kind of like the idea of having a old school comic book in my hand. I mean, I generally like ebooks better, but in this case, I think it's kind of nice,
And I kind of like the idea of having it on the iPad for him. So we'll each get our preference. That's what it's about today, preference, right? Okay, so we are going to take a break and go to the A Word, the ongoing documentary being made at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, following a little boy, Jack Riley, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2, and we'll see him beginning to start his early intervention. When we come back from the break, we're going to have Matt Asner and Navah Paskowitz with us, and we're going to be continuing to talk about love. Alex is going to go away for one segment, but then he'll be back.
I'll be back with the wonderful.
Yeah, we're gonna fit 4 people in our tiny studio for the first time because it's just too good to miss.
All right, let's do it.
So anyway, take a look. This is the A Word.
I just wanted to ask you how you're adjusting with all these people coming in and out of the home.
You know, half of me is used to it. Half of me is no longer freaking out about how clean my house is. Clearly, the other half of me is still really overwhelmed. And you know, if there's talk of one more thing that we add to our list for that week, sort of freaks me out, at least initially.
Well, it's easier now. It was very strange the first week. He's making progress. It's sort of relentless. When you think you have a moment to relax, oh, wait a minute. 9:30, so-and-so is showing up. But it's just an adjustment. It's not overwhelming necessarily. There are times where you just need an hour and it's not coming. But we've developed a fondness for all you guys, so that makes it easier. And he's making progress, so who really cares how inconvenient it is?
What color?
You're funny.
I like Spider-Man.
You're funny. You were such a clever.
Hey! She's not a jungle gym.
You're funny.
Hey.
You're funny. You're funny. Go. Hey, you wanted to go color. Yeah, go color.
Yeah, come here.
Color.
I have colors for you. Here. Do you want green or orange? Which one's orange? Green or orange? Orange, yeah. Good job.
Yes, I see changes in him every day. Today we went to OT and just watching him climb up a rope. And he got to the top and he was on a ledge and she had to show him how to turn over on his belly to climb back down. And he did it again and he got to the top and he remembered. He knew to turn on his belly and do it. So just watching how he's soaking up stuff and being able to adapt it so quickly is pretty impressive. Now, if only that would work with the eating. That's probably still our biggest challenge is eating.
Yeah, eating's it's a task. The therapist came out because he needed to eat. And it probably took him, 10 minutes to really take his first bite. But what he'll eat and how he'll eat and when he'll eat are very challenging stuff.
I think the goal is to develop the relationships with the girls first and to be more compliant on behaviors that don't involve food or eating. He gets really worked up when new foods are introduced to him. It's a good 10, 12 minutes before he'll even consider eating anything else. So we have to get past that and probably introduce it to him a lot and let him play with it more and just get that fear or anxiety out of him. But it's going to be a slow process, I think.
He's making something very intricate. And I'm surprised. I was talking to Susanna because he's so into textures and how things feel, and I was surprised that he even wanted to touch it.
We had peaches in front of him today with applesauce and tried to make it fun to run the trains through, and he was not happy about the whole thing.
Can we squish it?
Are you all done with the Play-Doh?
Yeah, let's go.
All done.
Clean up. Thank you. Good job.
Uh-oh, you don't want to be done yet.
We can play with it later, Jack Riley. We're done for now, okay?
You want to eat?
Are you hungry?
Are you hungry? You want lunch?
Do you want lunch? Do you want to watch Pocoyo with lunch? Pocoyo? Oh, Jack.
How has it been like just adjusting to there's days when he's having therapy and he's having difficulty, he's crying and
Those are hard on us because I think we're both overly sensitive anyway, and he's your son. Those days haven't been that many where he's like emotionally drained or anything. I think he's made the adjustment maybe better than we have.
Thursday, I remember sitting in my office and hearing him cry pretty hard, and I had to call a girlfriend. Mike was gone, so I had to call a girlfriend, and I was pretty close to tears. And she talked me off the ledge, which was a good thing. But since then, it's been easier to hear him. I haven't heard it as bad, or it hasn't felt as bad, but I know it's good for him, and I know that he's being asked to do things that he's not used to being asked to do. So there's nothing wrong with that.
This one. What color? Green. Green. Yeah.
Last night, there were bubbles on a page, and not only did he say bubble and pointed at all the bubbles, but then he decided to pop the bubbles and started saying pop. And so he's using the words right, and that book, I think we went through every page, and he found something on every page that he knew the word for.
Go get him. Pop.
Nothing is easy for him anymore, even with us. I think if he wants to do anything or if he wants to try anything, he has to ask us for it or say the color or do something. So I think we learned that from ABA.
Pocoyo or Baby Babble? Babble.
Good choice.
Baby Babble.
Baby Babble. That's good talking. We have all
Bubbles.
Bubbles.
Pop. If he's watching a video with you, he turns and make sure you get. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? So he's fully engages you to make sure you're paying attention, and that's great because I like when he looks at my eyes.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So excited because for the first time, we not only have Matt Asner, but we have Navah Paskowitz with us. So welcome to the show, Navah.
Thank you so much, Shannon.
We talk about you all the time. So a lot of our viewers are very, and welcome also, Matt.
Thank you. Usually I don't have butterflies when I come on here, but now today I have a little bit of a butterfly.
Well, and there's a good reason because you're sitting next to somebody who I think gives you butterflies in general.
She does.
Which is part of the reason why why we wanted to talk to you guys today, because I think your story is remarkable. I'm going to get the tissues out before we're done.
You have to give me a few.
Yeah, we'll get all warm and fuzzy here. But let's start with a couple of things. If you're new to the show, Matt is an autism dad and an autism brother. And he is you're the executive director of Autism Speaks Southern California, which is a very big job. That's a very big area. That's a huge job. So your life is filled with autism.
Yes, it is.
It really is.
Whether I like it or not.
Right. You're full in. And then Navah, you are a mom. You have 4 children.
I have 4 kids.
But 2.
My 2 youngest. My youngest son is classically autistic. He's 5. And Wolfie is high-functioning Asperger's, and he's 10.
Okay. And so you have a very rich and full life with autism, too. You come from a family.
My brother Israel started Surfers Healing.
We know him as Izzy on the show. Izzy Paskowitz, he's pretty famous.
Yes.
And does Surfers Healing.
Absolutely.
And you're very involved with that.
Absolutely. I volunteered for 15 years, and I was always that parent who would say, "Thank God it's not me," And I feel bad, but I really did feel like I'm glad it's them and not me. And
because your brother has a son
who's
on the autism
spectrum. He has a severe nonverbal son
yes.
who's 21 now.
So you got to see all of that before you had your kids, and I appreciate that honesty. I think all of us saw autism before and said,
I said it about my brother.
Yeah, I hope that's
Thank God it's not me.
Yeah. Or I hope it's not me. So, but on top of that, you also work with the autism community in a couple of different ways. So talk about some of those ways.
I'm currently working with Leaps and Bounds, and they were wonderful. They let me create my own program in their aquatics program. And my program is a little different from Israel's. I start the kids out in the pool, and eventually they graduate to the ocean. And I work with all special needs kids, not just autistic kids.
And if somebody wanted to work with you with their child, where would they get a hold of you to do that?
They can reach me through Leaps and Bounds, which runs out of Marina Del Rey, or Navah.Paskowitz at Gmail.
Okay. So remarkable. You're leading these lives, being parents.
Yes.
And you both were in circumstances where you had become single parents, as that happens in some lives, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And whether you have a child with autism or not, that happens, but you're both single parents. Full in with your kids on the spectrum and your other kids who aren't on the spectrum, and full in with your lives working in autism, and you've met each other before. But
my older brother was really good friends with Matt for
15 years.
Long time. And when I got my diagnosis, the first thing he said is, "You have to call my friend Matt." And Matt had just been hired the month before my diagnosis. So he was new to Autism Speaks.
Okay.
And as soon as we connected, I started volunteering with Autism Speaks, and I chaired the Grand Club in the Walk last year, and they became my family and my community, and the biggest support of my life is to not feel like I was all alone. And it was a scary place. I mean, it's still scary. It's only been 2 years since our diagnosis, but I couldn't have done it without the moms group, the support. And Matt was my best friend for many years before we found
love struck.
Yeah, before.
And I think it's important to talk about that. I don't think either one of you were working and you were being of support to your family and to your community, and found friendship, and then love struck.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I always thought Navah was a very special person.
Yeah.
I mean, she has she radiates light, and
clearly,
there's she's a very special human being. But I was.
But you were busy.
I was off the market, and so was she, and that was it. And that was it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I think things kind of changed, and we kind of started looking at each other and going, "Oh, I don't know."
Just a minute.
Wait a second.
Right.
What's happening here?
But the thing is that when you have a kid who tantrums, and Eddie at that point was, tantruming all the time. Nobody can understand the way an autism father could. And I honestly felt, and you said it in one of your shows, how am I ever going to find anybody who could understand what I'm going through, except for somebody who walks in my shoes?
Absolutely.
And it's You know, it's the perfect, you know, I don't know how to, it's perfect.
Well, we talk about you guys as being the Autism Brady Bunch.
Yes, we are
because
the Brady Bunch of
this
autism.
blended family now that's come together.
That's because I'm such a waspy male. I'm a waspy male, and that's why
I think you
I
should
look like Robert Reed. And
I think you should go buy the house that's in Studio
Right.
City that is the
Yeah.
actual Brady
That's
Bunch
right.
house. That would be awesome.
with the slate. Rock.
Right.
We do have slate rock though in front
Our
of us.
house is the, I mean, it's
It
a
is.
total
It
looks like the Brady Bunch house.
It has a stairway.
It's too fun. Well, we think it's remarkable, and I think it's a very hopeful story too, because I know that there are parents who watch this show that are single parents and think, you know, I have my job and I have my child, and then on top of that, there's the whole autism thing. That I've got a mission, I've got a journey, I've got to walk. Where is there room for love in that?
Yeah.
And here you guys can be the poster child for the fact that not only is it possible, it's beautiful.
But I'll tell you something. If you had asked me 9 months ago, I would have said to you, you know, I don't think there is room for love. Right. I mean, I just don't think there is.
Well, it just overwhelms you. You don't, and you get on this track of like blinders, like day to day, you know, enduring rather than, you know, flourishing. You're enduring. You're getting through each day, and at the end of the day, you collapse. But joy and happiness and love gives you energy. It allows you to have those nights, like the other night with Edwin, where when he's sick, he goes from mildly autistic to severely autistic. But we get through that together now, and it's,
and there's an implied understanding. You know, there's that I don't think you'd have in any other situation, which is basically what you just said. You know, I'm stealing from you now.
That's okay.
You know, we understand each other. You know, there's certain things that happen in a relationship, that in a normal relationship, I don't think it would be understandable what was happening, but we have an understanding with each other that you know, we're parents of children with autism, and that comes with a certain responsibility, an extra responsibility that doesn't necessarily come with typical children.
Absolutely.
But I have to just give you a little credit.
Really?
Yes, because this is the most patient human being I've ever met in my entire life.
That's a good thing.
And kids and animals love this man. It's true.
Only kids and
No,
animals.
it's true. Yeah.
Everyone else.
A lot of adults don't. But
No.
but he is so patient, and with autism, it's like having a tantruming 2-year-old 24 hours a day. And Matt has the patience, like, you know, we have 6 kids combined.
That would drive anyone crazy.
Yeah. Well, I come from a family of 9, so 6 is not such a big deal.
But when you've got a total of 3 children who've got issues on the autism spectrum, do they ever
My
bump
oldest
up
guys
against?
are ADHD.
Okay, so you've got more things going on.
Yeah, we've got, and Matt's oldest son is ADHD.
Okay, so do the different things they have going on, do they ever bump up against each other?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And how do you guys deal with that?
But it's you know, it's like a normal household. I mean, you know, there are brothers and sisters who fight. There are brothers and sisters who get along, and you know, I mean, we have. You know, I'm actually amazed at how our children have gotten along. I really am, because you know, I think her kids are amazing. I mean, they're incredible kids. I mean, they're all gifted and smart and friendly, and
they love him, and Matt's kids love me.
And I think my kids are, you know, the same. I mean, it's and it just is.
It's working.
It just is.
But part of it is the foundation of you and I, and that they see us happy. My daughter, who's 16, she said, "Mommy, you are unhappy all the time, and you're a happy mom now." She said, "You're smiling all the time. It's annoying," you know. But she sees it. You know, she sees it, and it's wonderful. I mean,
and there's another. I think there's another element that's there as well, and that is, I think we both come from very unconventional childhoods.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, her childhood is very well known. You know, there were 9 kids. You know, in an RV.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
They made a documentary about my dad called Surfwise.
Yeah.
That because we had this crazy, unconventional life, and it was wonderful and adventurous. And my dad is a Stanford graduated doctor who gave it all up and self-taught us and traveled around the world working on Indian reservations for free. And he did that all because...
And surfing.
Well, he started the first surf camp ever in the history of ever, and in 1969. And he brought the first surfboard to Tel Aviv in 1958, and they just made a museum about my dad in Tel Aviv.
Amazing.
As the founder of surfing in Israel.
So.
And my dad, of course, is a well-known surfer as well. And
but he's just Zadie to us. He's just.
But you had an unconventional childhood too.
I mean,
everybody doesn't have their father on television.
Right.
No.
And famous.
No.
When they're a kid, that's got to have affected you.
No, and I honestly give my parents a lot of credit for keeping me grounded and giving me a base to work off, because otherwise I think it would have not been very good. There was, but each of our childhoods are could really consider to be unconventional in different ways.
Yeah.
And as different as they are, there are a lot of similarities there.
Yeah,
absolutely. Our fathers are so similar.
Yeah, and I think that because of that, we understand each other as well. So there's so much chemistry there.
Yeah.
That's just working, and I
there's
think
a basis for understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is really remarkable.
And it's global, in scope. With the autism, with the childhoods. I mean, it's global in scope. So it really. It created how we live our lives and what's important to us, and it's very similar.
Well, there's no downside to this because it's remarkable for the two of you, and as you said, your children are flourishing. I love what you were saying. I always used to say that in the beginning of autism, we were just trying to survive, and then we had to start to learn how to thrive again.
Exactly.
And that's something that we all need to be working on. So you guys are thriving with each other, and the autism community gets a wonderful thing from it because it gives you energy to inject in what both of you are doing for the community. Yeah. So we approve. I want to give you the Autism-live stamp of approval.
Okay.
This is I've said people just need to spend half an hour with you. You guys are so happy that I said last week that you get diabetes being around you because it's just so sweet and it's so wonderful.
Yeah,
Alex informed me that no, we don't get diabetes, not even virtually. But
I don't think it's normal for either of us.
Yeah. Well, what a wonderful thing. What a wonderful thing to be able to project that and project that light into the world and give hope to other people, so that for this Valentine's Day, if people are on their own and single parenting in the midst of the muck that can come sometimes with a diagnosis of autism, to know, hey, you guys were there and look at how happy they are.
But I think it's so important that it came from a base of friendship.
Yes, absolutely.
And it wasn't.
And a base where you were giving back to the community too. Yeah. They say that if you want to meet somebody, the best place to do that is to meet it in a charitable
or
something like that, because you're going to meet somebody who has that basis of understanding that you have.
I mean, I've got to say, I'm with someone that I can't imagine not being with her. I mean, I admire her so much. Yeah. I think. She's an incredible person. She's incredible with kids. She's great at what she does, and I think she's she makes me look really good.
And everywhere around the world, everybody's going, "Oh, it's that diabetes thing." In a good way.
Yeah. And not to get too syrupy, but there is a point after your diagnosis where you think, "Why did God do this to me? Why did this happen?" And I feel that God had a reason for giving me Edwin. I feel like I would never have met Matt if we hadn't had this wonderful... I mean, Edwin is the light of my life and the most wonderful, joyous child on earth, and Will is the same. Yeah. But without these two little guys, we would have never met each other. We would have never... And autism and the community and helping kids.
And even though
it's where I belong.
And even though I've known her brother for 15 years.
Yeah.
We've traveled in the same circles before. But we would have never. It's a fine game of dominoes we play.
Yeah.
If one domino is out of whack, it's not going to happen. They're not going to fall the right way. And they all fell the right way.
But I mean, for years, not years, but for the last 2 years, we would have pool parties and our kids were together. Our kids were friends. I mean, all of this happened after Matt and I had been working together for years. And it was, you know, I could talk to him when Edwin was having a flip out. I could ask him questions, and he was my best friend for a long time.
And the love came out of all of that.
Yeah.
What a
Well,
great
I always
basis.
liked him.
Yes. What a great basis.
I always thought he was cute.
There we go.
Yeah.
He's blushing. We love that. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to bring Alex back in, and we're going to talk a little bit about dating in this century and about autism and how autism parents date and how individuals on the autism spectrum date, because it's a sticky wicket for everyone.
Yeah.
There are all different new considerations and, you know, texting and all these things. I've been married now for 11 years, and everything has changed so much since I got married. I feel like a really old woman who's missed it all. You guys are in the middle of it, so we're going to have you guys give our...
God, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
I felt like a really old woman who missed it all. That's what I felt like.
Well, and believe me, I'm thrilled. I love my husband. I don't need to start dating again. I don't want to do any of that. But I don't really understand all the different things now. It's different.
The nuances.
The nuances, exactly. So we're gonna bring Alex back in and have him give his view on it as well. So stick with us. Back after these.
Hi, I'm Ryan with Autism Research Group. We study ways to improve the lives of kids with autism. One of those ways is teaching safety skills, such as what to do if they get lost. We hit the streets to find out if anybody knows the correct answer on how to teach a kid what to do if they get lost. You're teaching a child.
What to do if they get lost.
Yeah, you're trying to make them independent so they have the skills.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, give them a compass. Code name's good idea. Centurion.
We always have this whistle.
Oh, I'd also tell the kid, don't get scared. You're gonna be all right, man. This is just the world. This is planet Earth. You're at home here. As long as you're on planet Earth, you're at home.
As long as you're on planet Earth, you're home. This guy's a genius. With that flawless logic, he just solved our homeless problem. And as for the unique sounding whistle, although very cool, it'll probably only work if you're in close proximity. And a compass?
I have her call me.
Yeah, she doesn't have a phone. Parents are like, you're too young, you don't need a phone.
Establish some sort of like meeting place.
What if they can't find a meeting place? Because sometimes the kids get nervous when they get lost.
Yeah.
So like a backup plan, plan B.
Yeah, I don't know. No, not really.
Let them go and find a new kid.
Yeah, I got a different one. Yeah.
There's not much you can do.
There is stuff you can do. That's right, there is stuff you can do. In 2012, myself, along with my colleagues, Dr. Jonathan Tarbox and Dr. Adele Nadowski, published a study in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis on teaching kids what to do when they get lost. The study demonstrated how 3 simple things, rules, role-playing, and praise, were effective in establishing these help-seeking behaviors. The benefit of this method is it doesn't require the child to have a cell phone or to have to locate a meeting place, which might be difficult if they're in a place like Disneyland. So once again, our method included rules, role-playing, and praise. Let's head back outside and learn about some of these rules.
They should yell out loud. Can't find my mom, help me.
Maybe yell out and scream for help. All right, scream really loud. Correct. And if that doesn't work, then...
I don't know.
Well, they could seek help from someone.
Find an adult.
Yeah, go to a vendor, and say I'm lost.
Find an adult, like a police officer or a fireman or an employee in the store, and tell them, and maybe they can help you contact your parent. It really is that simple. You don't need to get your kid a cell phone. You don't need to establish a meeting place that they might not be able to find when they're lost and panicking. And you definitely don't need to give them a compass. All your kid has to do is 3 things. First, yell mom or dad real loud. 2, if that doesn't work, find an employee. And then 3rd, tell the employee they're lost. If they can't locate an employee, then tell them to find a mother with children, because that's probably the safest person to approach. I'm not saying that most men are predators, but most predators are men. That is a fact. I've read it in a fortune cookie. All right, so you've gone over the rules with your kid. and you've quizzed them and they're able to tell you the correct responses so they understand the rules. But is that enough? How do you know they're going to perform correctly in a real-world setting? You need to get out there and find out if they can actually do it. So you'd go over the rules and tell them, like, do this, do that, but how would you know if they actually knew what to do? If you wanted to shoot a basketball, and I just told you, oh, when you shoot a basketball, do this, this, and this.
I never practiced.
You never practiced, yeah, so it don't matter how many times we go over the rules or how well you can repeat them back to me. It's not going to change until you get on the court and practice.
Maybe do like a, a little skit with them.
Like a role play?
Role play, yeah.
Your child, you're lost in the toy aisle.
Okay.
What do you do? I'm an attendant, walking around.
I'm lost, I don't know where my mom is. And then once you practice, you just like praise them, give them feedback, like, good job, you did it.
Reinforcing it.
Yes, this woman wins the prize for best comment. She pointed out the most important part of learning. Reinforcement. Now, in our study, we used praise, but for your kid, you might have to use something else. You might have to buy them a treat, a toy, take them to their favorite restaurant where they can eat unhealthy food and run around and climb through plastic tunnels that have the unmistakable scent of urine, and then play games spending $20 to get a plastic little spider ring that they will eventually lose in a ball pit. The point is, you need to reward your child for correctly demonstrating what you've been teaching them.
Okay, I'm gonna call her. Hello, your child, Ryan Autism is missing. There you go.
Woo!
Yay!
So you tested it out
I'll
in the
try.
store to make sure I knew it. I had the rules,
Yes.
we role played it, and you made sure I knew it, and then like you said, good job, and all that. Now we're good to go.
We're good to go.
All right.
Done?
High five right there.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Give your child the rules, get out there and practice, and reward your child for responding correctly. For more information, please visit us online at autismresearchgroup.org. I'm Ryan Bergstrom. Thanks for watching. Yes, ding. No. Yes, this woman wins the first. Yes, this woman. Yes, this woman wins the best. Yes, this woman wins the first place. Yes, this woman wins. Why can't I say woman? Yes, this woman wins. What's the line? Yes!
Welcome back to Autism Live. We have quite the crew here. We've got the amazing panel. We're talking about love. So going down the line, we have Matt Asner, Executive Director of Autism Speak Southern California. We have Navah Paskowitz, amazing. You work for so many different, who do I talk about? We talk about Leaps and Bounds. We talk about your own program, which is called?
The Paskowitz Program.
The Paskowitz Program, but you also do some work with your brother's program, Surfers Healing.
Right, I volunteer with Surfers Healing and anything I can. I've been working with special needs kids for just a few years, but I've been teaching typical kids to surf for 30 years.
Amazing. And then on the end, we're rejoined again by Alex Plank from wrongplanet.net. And this all came about because a couple of weeks ago we had just Matt and Alex on, and we got into a discussion about love. Yeah. And we were saying we need to have Navah here to have this discussion.
We need a female perspective.
Well, I'm a female, but we needed another female. We needed to be even.
You're
yes, exactly. Exactly.
You're the host. You're the moderator.
Yes. Thank
of
you.
this love fest.
There we go. And it is a love fest. So because you're all friends and you know each other and you get along well to the point that we can have a hand fight on the show. But I wanted to invite Alex back in to talk about dating in the 21st century. And you guys had recently just been back on the market and went through this process fairly recently. And Alex, of course, is single. And dating has changed a great deal. And I wanted you guys to talk a little bit about how dating is different now.
Well, we'll start with Alex.
I think that I have no change. Like, what can I compare it to?
Well, I know something I can say.
Experience.
Okay.
What's amazing to me is everything is on Facebook.
Yeah.
So you literally. You live your life on Facebook now. Most people do.
As a friend of mine says, your business is always on the streets.
Yes, that's right. And that's amazing to me. I mean, really, when you think about it, it's like, wow. Everyone knows what you're doing. Everyone knows what's going on. And it's like, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah, well,
that wasn't there
both good and bad.
Exactly. That wasn't there when I was, in my dating periods, that wasn't there.
Right. But do you find now that you are aware of that? So you're aware when you post things of the fact
no,
that...
I'm really oblivious to most of that stuff.
Yeah,
honestly,
well,
so.
you guys post a lot of stuff.
But I make it
You post too much?
I make it my business not to post like anything that's, I don't know, that I consider too much information.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I post about stuff that's important to me.
Okay.
You know,
which is family.
Family.
And Navah and Navah's family.
And autism and entertainment. That's the important stuff for me, and everything else. No one needs to really know.
Starbucks.
Right.
Everyone keeps posting about that.
Well, it's like if I'm in a restaurant.
Starbucks, have you heard of that?
Yeah. My son told me that.
It's like all over Facebook.
But you know, I just don't think it's you know, there's a reason to like, you know, put what restaurant you're at, and unless you're with a bunch of family and you want people to know you're having a good time, and you know, otherwise it's not, you know.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Well, we were talking earlier this morning about what people find reinforcing. I personally enjoy looking at other people's stuff on Facebook and checking in with what they're doing and seeing that. And I enjoy posting some things and getting people's reactions. But it's not reinforcing enough for me to make it a full-time job where I'm constantly telling where I am. I don't particularly want people to know where I am all the time.
Right.
That isn't like reinforcing to me.
It's scary. It's like that Find My iPhone thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, my son wanted me to download that. I'm like, why would I download that? I want some privacy in my life. I don't want to.
You can add like,
I don't want to
every time.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, it's like, oh, he's at Wilshire and Bundy. You know, wow. You know, what's he doing there? I'm like, why? Why is that even?
Yeah, I don't get that either. But
I think people willfully go into it.
Yes.
They willfully go into it, and they willfully give their privacy away.
Yes.
Because they are enticed by the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know, because I think it is enticing. You want to be friends with everyone. You want everyone to know that you're having a good time and that you're out there in the world.
Yeah.
But it's weird.
Yeah, it is a little weird. And did you feel when you guys started dating and your business is all over the streets, is it a little weird for you? When I notice, because I'm friends with you on Facebook, and it looks like you guys are living large, that you guys go and do things a lot, and I go, look at that, look at how movable they are, and they go and do things.
But only because he's forced me to do it. I was the anxiety mom who was afraid to take Edwin anywhere in public.
Okay.
And he has really brought me out of that and forced me to take chances and take Edwin to places that I would never have the nerve to take him before.
Well, I firmly believe that, you know, you need to be out there.
Yeah.
You cannot. You know, with what's going on. I mean, certainly with us. You know. We have children on the spectrum. You have to be out there. You know, the most important thing for them as people is to be around other people and understand the complexity of what's going on out there, and it's important.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you, but I'm with you that I'm that anxiety mom that and sometimes I don't get past it. Sometimes I decide not to, or that there's a level of overwhelm that I know what the limit is.
Unusually big. I mean, he's huge. I have fibromyalgia. I couldn't physically pick him up sometimes, and I would be terrified that he'd have a tantrum and I'd be alone. And
but I'm not saying there aren't moments of anxiety.
Okay.
But I think anxiety is a part of what we go through.
The calmer I am, the more he feels that vibe. And Matt is such a calming.
Yeah.
I mean, Edwin and he have a connection that's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm the personification of Xanax.
Yeah. Well, you heard the story about the haircut. I mean, I got kicked out of 4 different haircut places.
Yeah.
Matt took him. The first time Matt took him, and Edwin got a haircut. You know, that was the end of it.
There was something funny that happened during that, though. I know this is not about dating, but, you know.
It's okay. It's all about love.
It was all a part of our courtship.
Go quick.
There was I'm sitting in the barber chair. We're halfway done through the haircut. I think I told you this, but
yeah, you did.
We're halfway done through the haircut, and he looks like you know, Phil Oakley from the Human League. So he's got like the shaved head over here, and he's got the long neat curls here, and so he looks like man woman.
His hair was longer than yours.
And the haircutter says, "Oh my God, I'm going to have to leave." And I looked at her and I said, "What are you kidding me?
She's halfway through.
What are you talking about? You can't leave here." And so I got to pick my kid up, and I'm like, You have to stay here and finish this.
Yeah.
You got to finish what you start.
Wait, I've never heard of that.
Isn't that crazy?
What world is she living on where she thinks she could cut half?
It was insane. Well, I mean, let me tell you, it was not. It was a stressful situation. I mean,
screaming, and he was, but.
But I said to her, I said, look, we have a short window of time here before he starts knocking my teeth out.
Right.
So let's
finish what you started.
Go.
Yeah. Amazing.
So.
Well, I think it's wonderful that you have that effect on him and that you can do that. I wish that for everybody in their life, that they find somebody, whether it's an uncle or a neighbor, who has that calming effect. I think sometimes as moms, it's not going to be us. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But you need to find the person who, and make sure that they stick around.
Yeah.
Right?
I wasn't always like this, though.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's self-preservation.
Time experience. Well.
I think I reached a certain point and I said, you know what, I've got to calm down because
you
I'm
used
way
to
too
not
high
be like
strung.
this. What were you like?
A lot like Jake.
It would be
a lot like my son Jake. I was constantly moving, and I was constantly like, oh my God, what's going on? I was constantly worried about everything. And then, through certain things that happened in my life experiences, switch turned on, and I thought, I've got to start finding ways to cool down and understand that things are not as bad as they seem, and take everything as it comes, and take each experience and use my experience from my past experiences and diffuse the situation internally.
Yeah. Well, one thing I notice is a lot of people just go through life just on a mission, and like they have this thing that they got to do, or like all these problems they have to solve, and they never really sit back and enjoy what's happening, and then they look back and they're like, I wish I had enjoyed that. And I used to be like all about like not even enjoying it, and now I just sort of got to the point where I kind of just have to.
Well, because that comes with age.
Yeah, I'm not that old. Jesus
Christ. How old?
This is a baby right here.
I'm 27.
See, it comes with age.
Yeah. Well, but that's not saying you're old. That's just saying you're not 14 anymore. But
I'm just saying, it's like, when someone talks about school. Let's use that as an example. I don't need to go to school because I just I'm too busy and I've got this thing going on, and and it's like 4 years of my life. It's it's to a young person, to a teenager, that seems like an eternity.
Yeah.
But for an adult, it's that's
4 years
nothing.
Is, of the blink of an eye.
It's going to be quick.
Yeah.
And
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different perspective. I want to get back to dating a little bit and talk about.
Yeah, we should.
Well, we don't have to, but I do want to talk with Alex a little bit about what are the realities of dating in this century. Let's just talk about. We talked about Facebook a little bit. What are, in your estimation, when you meet somebody, how long are you supposed to wait before? What's the protocol? Are you supposed to call them within 2 days? What's the protocol?
There's no protocol.
Okay.
One girl you call her 2 days later and it's too late. Next girl you call her the next day, it's too early. Next day you call her 3 days later and it's too early. I think it doesn't really matter. And like honestly, it doesn't matter. It depends
on how much you like her too.
Well, no, it depends on. Yeah,
if you really like somebody and she really likes you, it doesn't matter if you call her back the same night or the next morning.
Even so, I mean, if she doesn't like you and you call her back the next day, and she doesn't, and plus you don't even call, you text now.
Yeah.
But are there people who think there are rules?
There are rules.
Because that comes up. No, I know. But that comes up all the time. And it was great. It was really great in the movie Swingers. You saw that film, right? Mm. Where Jon Favreau calls the girl.
That's a great scene.
And leaves this crazy rambling message about how much he likes her. And I mean, you're always afraid of leaving a message like that.
Unless that's exactly the message that she wanted. You never know. There are rules.
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
I would find that adorable if you did that, and you have done something like that.
I don't see anything. I don't see how that if it's done in the right way that actually wouldn't work.
No. It's true.
But the thing is that you hear all these rules and then they don't work for everyone, and you say one thing to 5 different people in a period of 10 minutes, and the reactions from each of them is going to be completely different, polar opposites.
So let me ask you this: what do you think is the hardest thing about dating in the 21st century?
The hardest thing?
Yeah.
Well, just a lot of. It's just the times that it sucks your time. It's like that vortex of like a vacuum, like of time, and it's just a waste of time because at the end of the day, it's all this stuff that you have to do, and then
it's a waste of time to.
Well, I'll tell you the thinking about if you should call, what day to call and then waiting 2 days. That's a waste of time, and like even just like the whole process of like meeting people that you're not compatible with.
See, so you're even stressing about the rules.
I don't stress about the rules. I'm just saying that, like, the fact that you would even think about that. I just stress about...
But you do. It's inevitable that you think about it.
I mean, if you really like someone, you're going to start thinking, like, what if I did this? But then it really, you realize that it doesn't matter what you do.
Exactly.
As long as, like, you guys are compatible and you don't, like...
But when it's right, it's effortless.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah,
I mean,
if it's right, you don't have to try. And when you're trying, that's the thing that I...
But I think that's the problem then. Because I think when you're single... and you're dating, you want to find someone. Most people do.
Yes.
You want to find someone. And so it's inevitable that you force the situation a tad here and there.
You have to.
And you try to fit a square. It's inevitable that you try to fit a square peg in a round hole at times.
And you have to present like this version of yourself that only exists for that small window that you're dating for that period, and then you both like let each other like into like who the real you is.
Right. Absolutely.
You got to do the dance.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I mean, it makes sense because some of these people, if you got to know the real you, immediately it'd freak you out.
No, he's right. He's right.
And if it eases, it's kind of like it's like kind of like how they say, if you slowly heat up the water when you're boiling lobsters, that they don't jump out. They jump out if it's too hot, but if you slowly heat it, they'll just.
Because you're tricking them.
Yeah, it's like that. with
it's like a jacuzzi. It just gets hotter and hotter. You finally go to sleep.
Let's take a short break, and then we're going to come back more with our panel. We had some questions come in about the comic book that we'll try to answer, but we'll be back more talking about love and taking your questions on that. Stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. It's February, and for this month, we have made a template for you. You can find it on facebook.com/autism-live, and this activity works on your child's pincer grasp. So let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are scissors, a hole puncher, a glue stick, shoelace, cardstock, and our template that you can print from facebook.com/autism-live. First, I'm going to take my template and glue it to cardstock. And the reason I'm using a glue stick is so that it doesn't ripple, because if you use the wet glue, it's going to make it all lumpy. Once I have my template glued to my cardstock, I'm going to take my scissors and cut out the heart. Now that I have my heart cut out, I'm going to cut out the holes with the hole puncher. This is where your child's going to take their shoelace and start threading through it. Now that I have put all the hole punches through the template, now I'm going to get my kiddo to come over and take the shoelace and start sewing the outside of the heart. Shoelaces are great because they have the tip already, making it easier for the child to thread it through the holes, and they come in great different colors and patterns. As you can see, we found some really festive hearts. Here's my completed Valentine. Now it makes sense, right? I love you so very much. As you can see, the child has a lot of opportunity to work on their pincer grasp and find mold as they sew around the heart. I hope you enjoyed doing this with your child. Until next time, craft on, guys. Bye.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live. We had a couple of quick questions that came in about the comic book that we featured in the last hour. They want to know if the comic book is for kids with autism or kids without autism to understand it better. And in fact, it's for both. That it has a wide range that this comic book can do, that people are using it for kids on the spectrum to help them to learn and to feel included. And they're also using it in, as he was saying, in classrooms and different places to be able to help autism awareness.
Now, if you had a superpower, what would it be? Invisibility?
Oh, I love that we're going into comic books. That's like one of my favorite things.
If you could fly, or if you could be invisible.
I would have always wanted the power to be able to touch somebody and heal them.
There's only two choices. You could either fly.
No, I want to heal somebody with my touch.
I understand that.
Why?
Because it tells something about your personality.
So it's flying.
The healing touch.
It tells you what kind of person you are. If you could have the ability to fly or be invisible.
Oh God, invisible. No, I don't like
that tells
heights.
See, I would choose flying because then I could use her for invisibility and she could use me.
Oh yeah, Wonder Twins powers activated.
So
I would
what would you
definitely
choose,
fly.
Alex?
I would choose both.
That
wasn't an option. There wasn't.
I want the healing power then.
But some people have
like to
special
touch somebody.
abilities that are outside the realm of what you expect. You know, it's like a mutation where you get both.
That's cool.
Okay.
Were you into comic books?
No, I liked that show Smallville on TV.
But you were not not a reader of comics?
Yeah, it's about Superman when he was a kid. I remember that show.
I was a reader of comics.
Oh yeah, I did too. Do you still like comic books? Is that something that's still of interest to you?
I love comic books.
I do too.
I love them. I think.
Do you go to
honestly,
Comic-Con?
I don't go to Comic-Con. I occasionally go to one with my dad because I love seeing the activity and craziness.
You should go. We should all go to. We should go to Comic-Con.
Oh, it's so much fun. I've gone many times.
It's great.
Daniel's obsessed.
I see. You get cooler by the minute. I was into comic books when I was little. I remember the first comic book I bought. My dad took me to Bernie's Newsstand in Studio City, right by Webby's Bakery, and I was in there looking carefully, choosing, and it was an Avengers comic book.
There we go.
And it was just that was it for me. That was it for me. And I, then in the I think in the '80s I got into it again, and when it got kind of darker, and comic books are awesome because I think it's a great tool to get kids to read and to get them active in storytelling, and I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think comic books are awesome.
And now, are your kids into comic books?
Very much so. Mine love the Japanese, the anime stuff, but we're trying to get them more into the classics. I mean, I loved, it was the Avengers too, but the Scarlet Witch was my favorite.
I liked Superman.
Halo.
I like Superman, but my kids are not into it at all. Couldn't care less.
Really?
No, couldn't
But your
care
kids aren't into video games either.
Oh yes.
My son Jake is really into video games.
Okay.
And that's, I think, both an autism and an ADHD thing.
But
I could never do video games,
hyper-focus,
though. I couldn't do it.
obsessed.
No, Will can't.
I can't do anything that doesn't have an end result other than getting points on a scoreboard.
Well, you can do it. It just isn't your thing.
It's not,
you don't love it.
I mean, I can't do it to the extent that certain people do.
How do you feel about the visual of it? Because when I look at some of those things, I feel like I'm going to get a migraine or get vertigo. I can't even look at some of them. I do too.
I think you get.
I have like that vestibular thing.
Well, maybe.
I always find with the driving games. Like Jake likes a lot of driving games where you smash into other cars.
Yeah.
Like Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that. And so I always find that if I get behind the wheel of a car after I've been watching him play, or if I played, I sometimes go up there and play. But I like take a minute when I get behind the wheel of my car and go, oh wow, I have to take a minute because it's so weird to get in a car after you've been crashing into other cars and jumping things, and it's bizarre. So I always wonder, for the truly unbalanced out there, how does that work? I mean,
that's what a lot of the debates about.
I don't know. I think that there's a big difference between driving a car and a video game and driving it in real life.
It's weird.
Experience.
I'm sorry.
I think maybe you're the only unstable.
I think so. That was weird.
But it's a
weird.
It's a visual thing. I'm a very visual person.
Yes.
And I get behind the wheel of a car, and it's all about visuals. And when I'm playing a video game or when I'm watching a video game being played, it's a similar visual. You're looking out the windshield of a car and you're smashing into other things.
There's a desensitization factor.
There is.
And that's what a lot of the debate is about the
blood
violence.
and shooting.
There are some people who don't have the ability to. You at least are aware of it.
Yeah. No, but
that's great. But what about the person who isn't aware of the
Does it create the Columbine kids?
Right.
Does it create
right.
the...
God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But
I look at Jake playing these games, and sometimes he won't do the missions, and I'll just run around and he'll smash into things.
Well, that's the fun part.
But I'm just like, wow, why? Play the mission. Yeah. I'm like, do the mission. Don't just run into things. It disturbs me in a way.
But that for our kids, video games is what we used to do when we would go outside and play and build a fort and do those things.
Oh, you play War? You'd
Yeah, we used to do that.
We build a fort and have, I'm from the east and northeast where you would have a snowball fight, there'd be forts, and then, you'd, not politically correct anymore, but you played cowboys and Indians, and the girls could only be nurses. I mean, there was a certain amount
but that's worse than a video game,
politically
'cause that's
incorrect
in
all the way
person.
around. Yeah, but our kids don't have the ability to walk into the woods by themselves anymore. First of all, the woods aren't as accessible, and second of all, it's not safe. So
but
they play
also the
video
physical
games.
part of it. Yeah. That they're all sedentary. They're all my middle guy. He would rather play video games than go. And he used to be a very physical kid, and he's gained weight, and it's a problem.
It is a problem, and I don't have any answers. I will say that.
Surfing is the answer.
There you
Get
go.
them.
I want to
surfing
bring my son went surfing for Surfers Healing, and it was an amazing thing. He has said every year subsequently that he did not want to go back out and do it, but it was the first time that he said a full sentence was when he came off the surfboard, and what he said was, "Mommy, I not get eaten by sharks."
Oh,
and that's a good thing that happened.
There was I didn't realize how much anxiety he had going out, and I hope that sometime again he will do it. He loves the water,
and it's a totally different experience if we took him out when it would just be us, and not the crowds. Sometimes are very hard for the kids.
You know what's weird? I was so afraid of certain things, and I would never articulate it to anyone. I would never share that, and I just had this fear, and it would be in my head all the time. I wouldn't say it to anyone. My parents didn't know this, and I would be and it's like.
Do you think anxiety is a component of all autism?
No. Well, I mean, anxiety comes frequently with autism.
But I mean, I believe that autism is a genetic condition. We have so much autism in my family directly. I mean, but we have 5 kids in my family with autism. And but we all have anxiety. All of the parents of the 5 children.
Yeah.
Because that's that repetitive, thinking. I mean, that manifests itself in repetitively thinking about something that worries you.
Right.
And you're trying to get it out of your head. Like that is the same thing, sort of. In a way, to
neurological issues,
it's
ADHD,
very present in the autism community and in the parents of children with autism. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But did you know that fibromyalgia is also and other immune issues as well?
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, so it is amazing. Now, in your family, of course, you are not. You have a brother who also is on the spectrum, so you have a genetic component there as well. It appears.
I also have other people in my family who are, I'm not going to say anything, but there are definitely issues there too.
Well, I say about my family, about everybody globally, we're all on the spectrum somewhere, right? It's just who qualifies for a diagnosis.
Right.
This is what we talk about. And a lot of us don't qualify for a diagnosis, but I know I have OCD. I'm on the spectrum there. I just don't qualify for a full diagnosis.
Right.
But in your family,
don't now. But you have to wonder. If you were, if you were a kid now and just like you were, it's possible you could get a diagnosis because you can't really look at yourself when you're a kid and really see how. But I see home videos of me and it's like, whoa, my kid's clearly autistic.
Yeah,
I'd like to see those.
That's so amazing.
I would love to see those, Alex.
There's a scene in a movie called The Story of Luke.
Yes, love that movie.
Where he looks at old videotape.
Yeah.
And I started bawling like a baby when I saw that.
Well, I'll show it to you right after this. Takes 5 seconds.
I would love to see that.
We would love to have it on the show. So a videotape of you when you were a kid to see because
actually that's a great show because you want to.
It gives us hope. We have little guys.
Insight into what was going
this would
on
be my dream.
Exactly.
To have my son grow up to be a man like Alex.
Absolutely.
We've adopted him, haven't we?
Yes.
You are amazing.
He's the sixth child in the Brady Bunch, right?
You guys
you already have 6. He's the 7th.
He's Alex. You're my dream.
They did have Alex. Yes.
No. They had didn't Robbie Rist join the cast after?
Remember.
There was a 7th Brady Bunch when the kids got older.
Right.
I'm older than you and I stopped.
Yeah, no, they did. They had an adopted.
What is cousin? Whatever his name is.
There you go.
What a weird show.
Did we?
We have digressed everywhere.
Oh my God! But it's all about love.
It's all about love.
Did we tell you that Alex and I also work? We're on the board of directors for the Miracle Project. Yeah. That's how I started to hang with Alex.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's an amazing.
Which is an amazing organization.
Yes, we've had them on the
my
show.
Little guy is in the Miracle Project.
Oh, wonderful!
On June 8th at the Help Group, we're having the performance, and it's going to be amazing.
Well, and we've got shows planned to talk about that. We've promised them that we have some shows on about that. We're almost almost out of time, so I want to go down the row and last thoughts on love. We've cycled around a bunch of different things, but it's good discussion. So Alex, last thoughts on love, or anything you want to say to anybody for Valentine's Day?
I just think that, you know, love is something that is everywhere around us, and you just have to find it. And can I say any more like cheesy stuff? Because I was saying that
love is all around.
Love is all around. Wait, hold on. And also,
you had a very Yoda-esque look on your face.
Yeah.
Love conquers all. And you know what? Like, you know, I know that might not be in a relationship now, but you know, today is the first day of the rest of your life.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, Navah, last thoughts?
I would just say that if you're in a dark place right now and you think there's no possible way that you're going to find somebody because you have an autistic child, to continue hope and keep your heart open.
Yes.
Don't close your heart to the possibility, because your beshert, your soulmate, could be waiting for you.
There you go. Alex took most of your time, so very quickly, last thought, Mr. Asner.
Stop thinking so much.
Okay.
Well, that's the best one. That's the best advice.
Love is love, and you don't need to think about it. It doesn't need to be thought about. It just is.
Okay.
It exists.
Well, remarkable. Thank you all for being here. We're almost out of time, but I want to remind everybody that tomorrow in the morning we have Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grandpichet will be answering your questions. You've already been writing them in. We're cataloging them, getting them ready for tomorrow. In the second half of the show tomorrow for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, we have a remarkable guest, Alex Hale, who has his impossible dream to sing, and he just did a date opening for James Durbin. You won't want to miss it, so join us then tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.